It's never a dull moment in the Kansas City Chiefs kingdom because there's always something going on. We have a couple of things to break down as we get ready for what is the next week of this offseason. Before we get to some of the official things, we have a lot to go over. Who's new in town? Who's wearing new numbers? Who could be the newest addition? And where are they going from here tonight on RGR Football? Welcome back, football fans. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue on the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is the Sunday night breakdown. During the season, this is game review, live reaction, etc., etc. In the offseason, we talk about what's coming in the next week. That's where we're going to go tonight. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you like this video. Make sure you sub to the channel. And make sure that you click that bell so you get all the information that you want on what is shaping up to be a really defining offseason for these Kansas City Chiefs. Now, we've talked a lot about the draft class. We'll get into that here a little bit as well. I'll try to have my offensive depth chart for you this week because there's a lot of question marks for a team that should be really set. The two positions at right tackle and wide receiver are a bit of a question. We're going to go through that step by step from what I'm hearing from Chiefs practice, et cetera, et cetera. That will be later in the week because we got a couple other things. You guys are going to get another taste of Mike Burton. Chiefs fullback will be on the show here later this week as they get back into town for the first trial run-up. It's still technically phase 2. So there's not going to be a lot of plays going on. It's not rookie minicamp. So there will be some activities for the players, but it's not like on-field scrimmage type 7-on-7s even. That starts on May 23. So that's next week's show where we'll preview some of that. But for this week, it's about getting in your workouts. For the veterans, you're going to meet a lot more of those rookies. You're going to get in position rooms so that everyone's together. Now, this is going to be, I think they're right now sitting at 83 players on the roster. So it's not the full 90 that'll go to camp, but it's close. And so they're getting an idea of what the room's going to be like, who's where, voices, et cetera, et cetera. There's always leadership in every room. There's not one room in the Chiefs organization right now that is leaderless, and that's good. The rookies need that. But it is about making that transition to who's in the room, who is going to step up, who's the big voice, who's the veteran, and how those rookies start to get into and mesh with the rest of the program. That's really important. That starts this week. So you're going to see and hear a couple of things this week just about how that's beginning and how that's going. That's perfectly good. Next week, they'll be on the field. And from a veteran perspective, this is not anything that should be earth-shattering. You want to get in, get out, not get hurt, not, don't pull a hammy or anything like that. Like, take it easy, but get some good lifts in, get some off-season conditioning in, make sure that you're ready for next week when you do have to be on the field. And so a lot of film this week. I think that's going to be important. There are some guys that are really going to benefit from getting with the veterans. There's a lot of UVFAs on this particular roster, and we highlighted a bunch of them. Getting in the receiver room in particular for Justin Ross is going to be critical because you have to kind of I think pick and choose from a number of guys, pick guys' brains. This is a mammoth, and I mean mammoth playbook compared to college playbooks. So for Justin Ross in particular, I think this is going to be a critical week. I'm looking forward to seeing what the next step is. And then obviously next week we'll see him on field again. That will be another step forward. But right now we have to concentrate on health, rejuvenation, getting into the rhythm of everything. And I think for the rookie class, that's important. For the veterans, it's really trying to not overdo yourself here. This team in particular has gone so far in the postseason, the last 4 seasons, that it takes its toll. So I think at this form, you want to see who's changed their body type, who's been working out the last 4 months, who's really done something that looks different than when they were here last. There's a lot that could change, and I think a few things that should change in terms of versatility, athletic ability, and like body shaping. you want to see Orlando Brown have dropped a few pounds. I know the Chiefs are interested in that. Whether he did or didn't, that's a question. There's still the negotiation for Orlando Brown going forward about when is he going to sign a deal. Well, he hasn't had an agent until I don't even know that he's actually signed with an agent. I understand that he's interviewing them and he's close, but we don't know. So until then, like, you can't really even have a negotiation or get a deal done because there's no agent involved. And I think players have learned across the league, and I'm sure Orlando has because he seems like a very smart guy. Being your own agent is problematic. He got to see it up close with Lamar and what he's going through, not having representation. I think that's a negative because it's so much on your plate that I don't think it actually helps you perform better, both in your negotiation and on the field. So hopefully he takes something away from that. But a lot of that stuff is coming on, and change happens. So if you drop a few pounds, if you get your feet a little bit more nimble, same thing we've talked about with Darian Kennard. He's training with Duke Manningweather, evidently, when he's not at Chiefs facility. I know he was in the pre-draft process, and I understand that he was doing a little touch-up there in between rookie camp and then coming back for this week. So let's hope that makes progress. The right tackle spot is a question. It's been very, very, very cold on the front of information for how Lucas Niang is doing. So Jody Fortson, on the other hand, Andy mentioned last week, is doing really well. So you want to see, hopefully get some more information about Lucas. Otherwise, it comes down to Wiley and Kennard like starting to battle right now. And this is the point where last year we were talking about Trey Smith. He's a long shot. He's got the medical condition. You know, he's slotted behind LDT and Long. Like, there was a lot to overcome there. This year, it's really Kennard battling Wiley right now because we can't see Lucas Niang actually playing before the bye week, which this week is week 8. So they have 7 games up front. If you missed the schedule rundown show, Chris and I did it live the other night. You can watch that on the Locked On Chiefs channel. But to get to the bye healthy is your major goal every year. Then hopefully you get Lucas back and boom, you start making more progress. But this is the spot right now, the next couple of weeks. As you're lifting, as you're getting to know the room, this is where Darian Kennard can make inroads. And I think that is something we got to watch really carefully. Nothing against Andrew Wiley. He's filled in admirably for years, making that kind of his thing. But you want to have somebody who's got experience at tackle that understands the position as his primary position and feels comfortable. Plus, the chip on the shoulder never hurts, in my opinion. Whether it's a contract year and you're playing for your future, or if it's a rookie that's pissed off he didn't get drafted more and you're playing for your future, I think that motivation is what lifts players as they enter the league. So I think it will be a true competition. I think that itself is really intriguing because if you buckle under competition, then we don't need you anyway. That's the way that I approach everything. But if you can live up to that, if you can stand up to that, if you can raise your game, then you're getting a better player than you even drafted, which was just a couple weeks ago, right? So that increases what you feel is the floor of your roster. It's one thing to have ceiling, you got to have floor as well. You raise the floor, you do better on a week-to-week basis more consistently. That's how you get back to championships. So that said, change is inevitable, and a lot of times it's good. One thing that did change, and we're going to talk a little bit about there's a lot of little bits of news going on right now. First being that players are changing numbers again. So I will update the Leo Chanel shirts at the RGR store where you can get this one, the home of Chiefs Kingdom. All that gear is over at the RGR store. It's in the links here in the description. But I'm going to have to change Leo again because he's changing numbers again. So initially I thought he was going to be 56. He comes back to 49. Now they're switching again. He is going to 54 because Nick Bolton is going to 32 that Tyrann Mathieu had. So Nick Bolton's changing his number to 32. Leo Chanel will start with 54 as we understand now. Josh Gordon is going to 12. There could be more. We don't know. There are veterans involved. There's Sons of Bunny involved to get a number changed. There's a lot that could still come, but wanted to give you guys that update because starting next week, we're going to see those numbers on the field. And so hopefully this will be the last change for Leo so I can get that shirt updated, which I think is really fun. I was able to knock that out pretty quick and get the logo right. So I feel good about that. If you guys would check that out and support the channel, that's the easiest way. If you're in the live stream right now and chatting away, you can also super chat. I'm pre-recording this because, as you can see, my background is still white, which means I'm still trying to sell my house. So I'm in the middle of it, showings, etc. So I had to pre-record this one. But there's a lot of little bits of news as well, and that's what I find really intriguing, is because we were all talking about Bradbury, right? Everybody wanted to know about when he was released, would they go after him? Should they go after him? What did it mean? Well, it doesn't appear that they have interest any longer. And I think that is about the fact that they were able to get themselves some kind of their corners in the lower levels in Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson. I think Lonnie Johnson's presence kind of bolsters that as well. But they're all long, tall guys that can press. And so that part is staying true to form like we've seen Spags do for years and years and years. Now, Trent McDuffie can play man as well. He's not much of a press guy. In fact, I had a hard time even finding any reps his senior year of press at all. But he can play man for sure. And I did a video last week, if you missed it, just kind of running down what Trent McDuffie is. I'll have one on Karlaftis this week to kind of give you all that rundown as well. Don't miss that. But I don't think Bradbury's that guy, because Bradbury, to perform well, to get the most out of him, you got to play him in zone more than man. And this signals to me that even though McDuffie is a zone guy more at Washington, I showed you last week, he can play man. And I think they still want to stick to their scheme. As much as they wanted to stick to a four-man front and power edge rushers, I think they want to do the same thing in the secondary. So I don't think it's changing. And that tells me that going after Bradbury is probably less likely than it was a couple of weeks, months ago. So I don't expect that. But now there's a new one popping up. And I've heard this not just from media sites, but I heard this from a couple of people that I trust that actually have contacts in the league. And it seems that Brett Veach is going to do it again. He's looking for another former worn pick that he can try to resurrect and see what he has. Can he fit in Spag's scheme and do something that he wasn't able to do at his previous stops? And that's what I find really intriguing about Trey Waynes, because that is supposedly the person that they're talking to now to kind of bring that in, make that corner room that much bigger. I don't know if it'll make it better. Now, this is according, in terms of the media, Bill Barnwell put this out from ESPN. So it's questionable. I know Barnwell's got some contacts, but I don't know if they're Chiefs specific. If this came from, what's his name, that actually knows the Chiefs staff because he used to work there, Field Yates, I would give it a little bit more credence, but it certainly fits Brett Veach's MO. He probably had Waynes at a decent grade, probably a low first in that draft. Clearly hasn't worked out. Had a number of stops. Most recently, it was the Bengals, but they released him last week. So he's available. He's always been more of a man than a zone corner, in my opinion. Certainly coming out, he was. And I think that's been part of the problem, is squeezing him into a role that he didn't fit. He's 6 foot. He's not that thick, but he has decent speed. So, I mean, at the end of the day, his arm length is average, but it's above the Chiefs' thresholds. His size is 6 foot, so that's at the Chiefs' thresholds. They'll go a little bit lower usually. So he's certainly within their range, and he's got the speed, and that's what they look for. So for what will be a very minimal investment, if this rumor turns out to be true, I have no problem with that, because it's another way to bring in somebody who's seen the field in the NFL and let him compete, much like Lonnie Johnson. And now I think Lonnie Johnson has a chance to actually play in Kansas City, maybe even start. It depends on how Fenton is and what that competition becomes. Does Trey Waynes? I don't know. My gut says probably not. But again, if you're asking him just to do what he does best, which is a fit for Spag's system, you might get more out of him than anybody's gotten to this point for a next to nothing investment on a guy that you had as a former number one. This is Brett Veach being Brett Veach. So I wouldn't get too hyped about it, but I wouldn't get frustrated either, because it's certainly worth a look. Kicking the tires, making the small investment, it could pay off really huge. It also is probably a long shot that he's anywhere near starter quality for this team, but he would be significant depth if he can click and do the things that they want. So keep your minds open for that. I wouldn't put too many eggs in the basket, but just have that on the outside of your forethoughts, because you never know, and you got to take whatever advantage you get wherever you can get it. That's certainly something that I think that they want to do. And as we go through, I do want to touch on the schedule specifically. We're not going to run it down because we did that on Locked On Chiefs the other night. Go check that out. It should be the last video that's up there on the Locked On Chiefs channel here on YouTube, as well as all the audio platforms. But they did it again. The Chiefs have one of the top 5 strength of schedule, according to last year anyway. Now, we all know that rosters have changed and team strengths have changed. But going off of what teams did last year, they have one of the top 5 hardest schedules in the league again. So the NFL is not doing them any favors. They moved them up to the week 8 bye. So you have 7, and then you have a longer stretch. You have 10 games on the back side of it. And I don't like that. I think that makes this season a little bit more difficult. But I think the thing that bothers me the most about it on reflection is the fact that they have 3 consecutive road games. And that's tough. There's not many teams that got that. I think there's 4 teams that have 3 weeks on the road, all back to back to back. And it's late in the season. I believe it starts with week 13, if I have my numbers right. And it's Bengals, Broncos, and then what's the third one? Is it Seahawks? I wanted to say, if I remember correctly. That's a run. I mean, now the Bengals obviously just beat you twice. And now you have to go on the road, be away from home for that long, or back and forth anyway. It's not like you're going to stay on the road. But clearly, if the Chiefs are able to secure the number 1 seed, they will have done it against probably the highest odds of anyone out there. We talked about the Bills are going to be a highlight on the schedule. The Bengals are too. Now, I don't know that the Bengals can repeat what they did last year. There was a certain aspect of magic to it for me. So I can't say that they're going to be the next contender, but the Chiefs certainly are. And I think what all this has shown us this offseason is that no matter what happens, they're going to be in the mix because they're going to do what they have to do to stay in the mix. And that's key. At the end of the day, that's how you win championships, by being within striking distance consistently. That's all that matters. So I'm looking forward to seeing if they continue that role and they overcome these obstacles that I think are in the way. I don't know that it's purposeful. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I do think that it's not anything where you've seen in past years for one particular Hall of Fame quarterback who seemed to get easier and easier circumstances as his career went on. I don't see that for Mahomes. So I'm trying to be honest about it without being overly critical, because I don't know what goes into making those schedule decisions, but it is what it is. So that said, Mahomes is Mahomes. He's going to get done when he gets done. And I'm hopeful that he will look a little bit sharper here in this offseason run-up and in the early preseason. He was a new dad last year. A lot of things outside of football that could have been distractions. From what I'm hearing, he's not doing as much media pre-recording and stuff this year. There was normally a summer routine for him. From what I understand, he's training more with Bobby, and I think that's good. Like settle things back down, boil it back down to the critical pieces. Now, I feel like that's better preparation for this season to be not only long but fruitful as well. So I'm feeling optimistic about it right now. Now, we're looking at some of the other classes around the league and some of the obstacles that are going to be in the way. I'll have a piece on the AFC West here coming in the next week or two over on NFL33.com. And if you guys haven't checked that out, that's our new Substack that's about the league. It's not Chiefs specific, but it'll be all kinds of who's building a team right. And for us here in Chiefs Kingdom, that will be for us to kind of track who the players are going to be, the players being teams that are in the mix to compete against the Chiefs in the playoffs, possible Super Bowls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's the way that it's going to go. And then really discuss how that transitions to what Brett Veach is doing in building the roster. Heavy team building, heavy draft stuff will be over there. If you guys would check it out and get subbed, I would appreciate that. If you want to be a paid sub, you get a little bit extra and a little bit more specifics from me. I have a member video coming this week for you guys as well. A little bit more of me unfiltered, because there's a couple of things that have frustrated me in a couple of weeks. I'm not ready to put them in the public, but you members get to see me rant. And if you do join the memberships, make sure if you're rookie or above that you email me at rgrpodcast@gmail.com. We'll get you into the Discord, where you can see Stevie and the guys. Rogue Head Huddle came out this morning That was a little bit delayed because of me and my house stuff, so that's on me. You guys should get that either Friday evenings or Saturday mornings as we get ready to go through training camp. So keep an eye out for that. They also have Back Talk, which is Stevie Keys and Aaron doing their own thing over on their own channel. So check that out and get sub to that, as well as Big Chief Sean's channel. I think a lot of you guys are already over there, but go check him out and go say hi to Thunder Dan as well. Thunder Dan 88 is still on here doing his thing. So some alumni channels coming off of RGR. I like that. So hope you guys are doing good. This is the Sunday breakdown. And in this offseason, this is what we'll continue to do. I'll give you something on Sunday nights, hopefully live most of the time, especially once I figure out my house situation, where we can just get to like the nuts and bolts of how they're doing and what they're doing going forward. Obviously, Q&A on Monday night at 6 Central, just like always. We'll do that again tomorrow night. So if you're not yet, make sure you like this video, you sub to the channel, and you click that notification bell so you know when I start live tomorrow night, but it will be 6 p.m. I think maybe a couple minutes after 6 p.m. tomorrow Central on Monday night, just like every other week. So you all have a great one. Thanks for watching this.